Hi everyone, it's Deb and Jackie again with one of our Take 10 webinars. This week we're talking about creatives in their spaces and how they do it. This week we're talking about laser cutting and laser cutting fabric. And then we're also going to talk about one of the probably forerunners in this space, and that's Oksana, and we're going to introduce you to her. It's a great source to put on your in your little black book. Last summer, Jackie and I had the great pleasure of spending the day with Oksana in her studio, and as you'll see from some of the information and visuals that we're going to show you later, it was really fun, wasn't it, Jackie? Hi.
Hi, yeah, it was really an eye-opener because I've heard about laser cutting. We've seen it sort of on the forefront of soft design for several years now, and we've never seen it in action and didn't realize that it's really a very simple process. And, if you have the equipment, as she does, and just the design process and the huge library of patterns and things that we're going to talk about that she has. So yeah, it was really a wonderful experience.
So before we get started and talking about Oksana, we kind of wanted to just run you through like the process and talk a little bit about what it is, because we've been seeing it, as Jackie said, in soft goods and in other things also in the last couple of years. I saw a bit of it about 5 or 6 years ago in Europe. Never made its way over to the U.S. In any real, major splash, but I think now it's its time.
Absolutely, and I think because for our clients, customization and unique product really are what people are looking for now. One-of-a-kind designs and a lot of different texture and pattern. This is a tool that you can use to customize that stuff for your clients. And we see it, as in these pictures this is cut leather over these pillow forms, which we have seen now a lot. We saw a lot in the last couple of markets, out there for the vendor. And go back one more, Deb. I just want to say that we're going to talk about several materials, too. This is cut metal. It's metal aluminum strips that are hanging there. So it's not just fabric on the window or on the wall. As far as using it as a drapery source, it's all kinds of materials that you can now use as sun filtering products for your clients. So it opens up a whole new sort of universe of materials, raw materials that we can now use.
Technology is grand. So this is basically a laser cutting machine.
And I think, Deb, you and I were both really surprised at how small it was. I was expecting this giant, like a commercial digital printer, and they come that big, obviously, but you can also get smaller ones that go yard by yard.
Right, and
it just kind of very compact.
It speaks to the whole idea that we had this sort of perception that you had to make a huge investment, you had to, have the space for it, only corporations could be doing it, and that it was really costly to do it as an individual designer if you wanted to incorporate, laser cutting. And none of that is really true. We kind of blew away those myths when we saw it. As you can see, it rolls around. It's about the size of a dining room table.
Commercial copier,
exactly.
Yeah.
So Jackie mentioned, and touch on them again, some of the interesting applications that we can use for them.
Well, this is a tool too that really lets you think out of the box, and that's what we are always all about is, giving you the tools and the information and the sources to jumpstart creativity, and this is one of the hugest ones I've ever seen. I mean, it can be used on fabrics, leathers, solid woods, wood laminates, metals, synthetic fibers, paper, and any other, sort of flat surface material. I think that the sky is the limit as far as what you can use it for.
We'll show you some example. I mean, here are some patterns. Talk a bit about you're the
right.
Textile designer, so
Well, you know, another thing that we were surprised by is that along with her capabilities as a custom designer, Oksana has her own laser cutting machine, but she also has thousands of digital files of pre-designed patterns, and it's all, you know, on the computer. It's as easy as selecting the pattern that you want, selecting the size, the scale, the repeat, whatever it is that you're working with. And literally any hand-drawn design as well, any line design, you know, can be used. So you can either create your own or go through her digital files, the computer library, and then also you can have a graphic designer or one of the design team that any one of these laser cutting companies has to create your own unique and individual pattern. So it can be very one of a kind. Using it for monograms, you know, personalization, all that kind of stuff.
Now this is hide, correct?
Yes, hair on hide.
Which
we have been seeing a lot of that.
Right, but stunning, right? I mean,
well,
when you think of hide.
Yeah, and you can see how intricate you can get with this, you know, cutting system.
Right, exactly.
Leather and vinyl. Ultra suede is a perfect material for it because it seals, you know, and leather as well. When you cut it, it's actually a laser, so it seals that edge, so there's no fraying. They use a lot of microfibers and things like that that won't ravel and stuff like that.
These are actually, I believe, Oksana's drapery, weren't they? These are some of the drapery that she cut. So they were almost like a flounced, attached valance at the top, and then they flounced down. And she also does this was done with a faux poly, I believe, and then she does it in shears. But what's interesting about this too is that she does a lot of event planning and wedding kind of things because, you know, she can buy really inexpensive, you know, sheer or faux poly silk and do some really interesting backdrops for events and weddings.
Yeah, we were surprised with her drapery as well that you can get multiple levels of light filtering. The shadow and the silhouette play a huge part in the design, and it takes everything to a completely different level. Don't you think, Deb?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That it becomes one of your tools versus one of your enemies. The other thing is just the slightest breeze. You'd walk by a panel and it'd flutter or it would move, and so again you're seeing drapery and soft design in, you know, attacking one of the senses that you don't always think about.
Yeah, and it's living sculpture, really. I mean, it's moves and air flows through it, and you know, it's constantly changing. You know, with stacking different types of materials with a different density of a cut on it, you know, really gives you the ability to provide some advanced light control. And, you know, you can play with the opacity, you can play with what part of your view is obscured, what part of your view is more open, if you're trying to hide, you know, sort of unsightly things outside your window, if you've got a telephone pole in a wrong place or something like that. And then it has just endless decorative trim options. That is one of the things that really excited me is, you know, you can create your own huge wide tapes, banding, appliques, monograms. You don't have to think of that as yardage. It can be yardage beautifully, but it can also be smaller, you know, pieces and parts, which we'll show you later.
Yeah, it's, and then this, speaking of pieces and parts and banding, but here you're seeing laser cut done on wood. So you're doing, you know, think of this as inserts and shutters, if you will, wall screens, you know, freestanding screens. There's just all kinds of ways to use it with wood.
Yeah, and for me, for years, we always used laser cut panels in media centers where you're putting in speakers or whatever. Not so much now that everything's mounted in the ceiling, but back in the day when, you know, you had speakers in and you needed to put speaker cloth, and it was a great alternative. But I've also used it for many, many years as cabinet door insets. and you can go through some more slides. We'll show those, Deb.
Mhm.
You can talk about this one because we found this years ago in Heim Textile, right?
Yeah, this is at Heim Textile. So this actually was a project by a undergraduate senior project. She was in the design school in Germany. I can't remember which one, Elsa Stroik. And these are laser cut pieces, as you can see, and they're actually applied to a knit back. You can kind of see the tricot knit back here, very much like you'd use a knit back on a laminate on silk or fragile. And it's wood, but as you can see, it takes on this sculptural quality. It'll lay flat like a carpet or an area rug, but then you can pick it up and do these amazing things with it because of the shaping of the pieces. And it was all, by the way, the laser cut was done with shim pieces and waste material. So there was this whole upcycling scenario happening, this really wonderful three-dimensional surface design aspect to it, laser cutting. It was just, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and that same concept now is being applied to flooring, and wood flooring in particular, where you can design your own pattern and they will put it together for you.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah, and I mean, here this is laser cut walnut and aluminum legs. So, you know, you really can cut through majorly hard surfaces, right? Walnut's one of the hardest woods we have. And so it doesn't have to just apply to fabric, but, you know, think of these things as maybe wall panels, shutters, slides, you know, all kinds of different applications for you.
Or just the whole idea of literally making something, you know, a pedestal or for a table and getting a piece of glass, right? I mean, it's awesome.
Oh, exactly.
You know, when your client can't find that custom-made table. Here it is. This is actually a pendant light, and this is a laminate, isn't it?
It is a laminate on plastic, and I believe it is actually a wood veneer on plastic. But look at, you know, you can actually see the cutouts at the bottom, which I think really illustrates, you know, the beauty of what this product is. And, you know, then you have the sheer plastic going through it. What we're seeing now is a lot done on ceramics, and they're doing it in a stacked scenario, so it almost looks molded. So you can see there's two different layers there stacked on each other. So it doesn't have to be completely flat. You can also get some real dimension out of it. Metals, you know, great options for screens, room dividers, cornice boards, you name it, headboards, all kinds of stuff. The one on the left is the cabinet insert, and I've used these forever. I love them. It just gives a, you know, you put glass behind it, or in this case looks like they've got painted behind it or whatever, but I love that look. And then just a giant wall panel is art.
And on the right, if you look back in one of your most recent traditional home issues, and they just did it, the show house issue, one of the rooms in the show house issue, the dining area, there is a pink inside mounted laser cut metal screen, basically panel in the window, and they use an iCot banding on the leading edge, and then they took the iCot motif and they cut like a Moroccan fret or an iCot into the laser metal and painted it hot pink and inserted it in the window. It's one of my most favorite. It's in my journal to someday do that for a client.
I have to look that one up. I did not see that, but
I just thought of that when I put that in, that picture in as an insert. But and here we'll give you, if you are interested in doing, you know, laser cut wood panels, here are two great sources for you.
And I've used both of these. They're wonderful. They'll do any size, any motif. Pattern Cut has a lot of stock motifs, and they deliver in like a week. So if you're doing cornice boards or cabinet door inserts, simple things like that, they're a really good source. They also cut in the round, which is great. And then advanced laser cutting, really, they are what they say. They're advanced. They will cut anything, any size, any shape, any material.
That's amazing.
And you know what, both of these sites have a lot of inspiration on their sites. Just go and check it out and look at the process.
So this is a black faux silk pleated tucked Roman shade. It's actually 3 Roman shades. It hangs in Oksana's studio, and it is the skyline of Chicago. And she took the skyline, took the digital image, and then translated it into these 3 Roman shades. And it's stunning. It's stunning.
I mean, it really is. And
You,
when you can offer something like that to your client that's so personal, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're doing a condo where you're, you know, the skyline and you can give it to it. So a little bit about Oksana. We're definitely in her court. This is the information of how you can get a hold of her. And she does she's a drapery workroom that has a laser cutter. And the other thing that's interesting about Oksana is, and I think this is kind of a common thread with all creatives that we've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, but I think the creatives love to surround themselves with new, emerging, young artisans and designers. And she's
Absolutely.
done that. She's, the 2 gals that you see in this picture are her interns from the Art Institute. They both are textile designer. One was a textile designer, I can't remember what the other, product designer from the program at the Art Institute, and they work for her in the drapery room. And she said they push her, she pushes them. It's a marriage made in heaven. And she, if you haven't met her, you give her a call, Facebook her, and she will ship, by the way, across the United States for those of you that aren't in the Chicago area. But she basically, you know, built up a business in a drapery workroom and was looking at ways to increase her business into cutting edge technique, and bought a laser cutter and went to London for what, 6 weeks, Jackie?
Yeah.
6 weeks.
And you know, the great thing about her too is she is a very high-end workroom. She has the staff there. I don't know if this is true. I think it is. I believe she's the only actual workroom with a laser cutter that can take your product, your laser cut product, from, you know, conception to completion and turnkey delivery.
Absolutely.
So it's all under one roof, and that's what we need, because if you're doing this stuff and you've got to send fabric, your own fabric, to, you know, somebody to laser cut it, and then you've got to send it to a workroom to be made. She stocks, you know, all the types of fabrics that are best for this. She knows the fabric, so she really is just a fantastic one-stop shop for all of this, and can walk you through the process if you've never done it before.
Right, absolutely. So here are some of her panels that she has hanging in her workroom. And they're actually on panel track systems. They're the, you know, typical panels, but they were just so fun, and it was just fun to be in her space. And you actually you really do get inspired. It's just fun to do that. This is my fave.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in the near west, near north side in an artist enclave in Chicago, and this is another Roman shade she did in sheer, and these are overlaid blocks. And actually what it is it's a map of a Lincoln Park in Chicago. And so she laser cut these pieces and then overlaid them onto this pleated sheer. And so if you look really close, you can kind of get, if you know Chicago, you know that it's a gridded city. So it's just a sort of stylized motif, very contemporary. And this is a working Roman that's in her studio.
Yeah, and you can really tell, I mean, she's an artist at work. Mm-hmm. She's not just a technician.
So here she is. This is her laser cutting machine. This is the fabric, so she's showing us the fabric. Showed us where, you know, it's all worked off digitally, off of a, you know, a digital image that manipulates
program through.
Thank you. Couldn't think of the word. And then here she is holding up the piece that she cut for us.
Yeah, I mean it's a slow process because it works very much like if you watch it working. To me, it looks like a scanner, but it's actually cutting the stuff, and so it cuts it literally inch by inch, feeds it through the machine, and you know, then comes out the other end. Here you can see it roped on that bar, and it goes, you know, and cuts the fabric out. But
so if you look really closely, you can see that along this edge it's being cut and it's coming back and forth this way. And then here's some more of her. The piece that's being cut on the right is hanging here on the left. And what's interesting about it, as Jackie said, is when you use something like a poly or a synthetic that doesn't that melts, the laser will bond the edges, and then because it's a silk and it's lightweight, it tends to curl. And so what happens is when it was hanging up, these edges started to curl, which gave it a whole nother dimension, which she didn't know was going to happen at the beginning, but it's really cool.
Happy accidents, right?
Yeah, it was exactly.
And she also, she can also laser cut on linen, which is gorgeous because it gets this sort of very subtle frayed edge, and that I thought was quite beautiful.
For those of you that are selling window treatments, these are actually roller shades. She ordered a semi-opaque vinyl roller shade and laser cut them. Now these are laser cut, and this is actually laser cut. This one down here, she cut. It's a Roman, a sheer Roman, and she cut out this applique of this cherry blossom, and then she Dufixed or used it like a fusible adhesive to apply it as an applique, so a sheer on sheer. And then here, I just stuck this in because Jackie was saying, you know, tapes, monograms, appliques. This is, just to show you the delicateness of it, this is an applique that they cut that they were going to be placing down. They had done sections of this, and this is getting placed in, was this down the leading edge, or was this going in?
I believe it was.
Down a leading edge of a drapery, right?
Right. And, you know, the thing with this, for me, I got very excited about this because I can just see a million applications for it. And the edges are fused, so it does not have to be sewn on. It can be, you can use, you know, iron-on adhesive or whatever, you know, glues, whatever, to put it on. But you really now have this tool where you can so customize anything for your client. And it's not expensive. You know, it's a couple of appliques for the backs of dining chairs or something that make your product really spectacular, but it takes your product offering to a completely new level because you can customize. This is the linen. I just loved this look. So this is laser cut linen, and it gets this beautiful fray automatically when they cut it, and these are appliques. So again, you know, you don't have to think huge with applying this technology. It can be something as small as appliques for a pillow.
And to show you, because I know everybody likes to see where we create, right? So this is the workroom, and so you know that, as I said, you can see the shade up here in the center, but basically she's doing this, you know, in a workroom. She's got, I think, 2 sewers plus her interns, and they're also doing digitally printed. When we were there, this roll of fabric actually is an ombre going from this taupey brown to a really soft, light beige, and they had had the goods digitally printed for a huge installation. I think the pattern repeat was something like 190 inches.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
it was crazy.
That's another service that they offer for you as well.
Yeah, is digital printing. Here's some more of her looks.
And so you can see, you can see the variety. I mean, it's just absolutely huge. And this is just sort of her stock patterns. I mean, you can do anything that you can think up. Love this. It was like giant sequins.
And then it gets, up at the, I love it too. Love it too.
Well, and that one on the, well, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the one that's on the left really illustrates how you can control your view. If there's something up top that's not, you know, as great, or that's where the sun is coming in, then you can filter down and let more light in. So you have all of this great, you know, ability to customize the window.
And then something we didn't think about, but we went, oh yeah, of course, is that because it's laser cut, it's very precise custom cuts. So what she was doing is taking, you know, all the pieces of different end lots or whatever, and was piecing them together. And these gals that work for her were actually designing the cushions and pillows and things, and I believe they sell them on Etsy, and they were also selling them at the North Shore and the art shows and things. But I mean, again, it was, you think of light filtering, yardage, and that. You don't think of, oh yeah, laser cut, I can get really good precision cuts on this.
Yeah, and I mean, think of, you know, how many times that you are, you know, cutting something out and it's got to be exact, and nothing's ever going to be the same. These are absolutely.
Especially if you're doing multiples. So
Oh,
again,
yeah.
here's Oksana. Here's her information. If you're interested in getting in touch with her, we think that you should add her to one of your secret sources for one of those projects. And hopefully maybe some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, I have a project right now that it might work for. So as we go through the year, we'll be showcasing different technique and the artisans behind them as we get a chance to visit with them in their creative spaces.
Also, if you have somebody that you think, you know, would be great for us to profile, let us know. Email us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Couple of webinars that are coming up for us. This week on Thursday is Digital Business Models for Design Pros, and then next month, right before market, is Profitable Partnerships, Designers and Workrooms. So does anyone have any questions before we leave? Otherwise, think spring. What is it, 5:45 tonight? We're finally in spring. And everybody have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye-bye.